Hey, what's up? Well, I'm making a video. I've survived Friday the 13th by a few days now. Um, and I'm making a video to say, well, first of all, I have kind of decorated for Halloween. I've kind of straightened things up a little bit. And you can see my monster cereal up there, Monster Mash. But just kind of straighten things up a bit. I got me some of those little crates going on. My dad didn't want to buy them, but as you can see, they're a great way to organize your stuff. Wonderful, wonderful way to organize things. And still got my black cat necklace, my spider earrings, and I'm just very happy about the cooler weather, getting down into the 40s. Just very happy about that. And what I'd like to talk about in this video, just a number of things. Basically, I did wear black on Friday the 13th, but I didn't get to make a video, so oh well. First of all, we've been having issues with our hot water tank up in the attic, and it just really makes me mad how my dad didn't seem to care what he was getting us into with this house. Overlooked so many things that were wrong with this house, and I think they took advantage of him, not inspecting it very well, because they knew that as long as it was a roof over his head, he pretty much didn't give a crap. And it just really makes me mad, because my mom was the one really looking out for us all our lives when it came to housing and pretty much everything else. She was always the one kicking butt, to make sure things were done right in various ways and that people weren't just screwing us over. And it's a shame, that our male parent, the one that should have, that should be more respectable and have less chance of being taken advantage of, he's the one who didn't give a crap. He would have totally lived in an apartment, no matter what that would have meant for us. During all those years, it's like she cared way too much and he cared way too little. And it's a shame, that she was born the gender that they try to take advantage of, in most cases, but she was the one that wasn't going to allow that to happen. Okay, whether it was the car, the house, what have you. Okay, so enough about my parents. What I'd like to talk about in this video, it's somewhat of an unboxing. And I feel like people often take advantage of me, online, especially eBay, because they probably see that I've bought a lot of dolls in the past. And I used to have a name that contained the word addicted, but then I took that out because I thought that people were really taking advantage of me, knowing just how much I like to collect dolls, and will probably be more willing to pay a lot, than most people otherwise would be, because those people are not even interested in their dolls in the first place. Okay, and right here, as you can see, I'm gonna have to take her out. Hopefully the person who sold me these dolls will never watch this video, but what I have here is yet another 7.5-inch Kid Court Native American, like I wasn't allowed to have when I was, quote, the right age to play with them, because Mom thought I should just be getting out of dolls, and the fact that, I was starting to identify myself as a little boy meant that I shouldn't even want to play dolls anyway. See, it's kind of odd to me how my parents were glad about my incongruent gender identity in the ways that it benefited them. Like they would never have wanted to actually give me a pill or, something, give me some therapy that would actually cure me of it, because they could use it as leverage against me. And they could get out of buying things that the more feminine girls may have wanted, like my little sister when she came along. But these kidcore Native American girls, and I have, a much bigger collection than this. I already had this one and a few others. And I like them because they're the size of a Stacy doll. And this one, was pink and yellow. This one was kind of aqua and purple. And they all have names, I guess, but I'm not sure exactly what they are. And this is one, I got this outfit along with these two dolls. And this one, I want to be a boy. I put a headband on him. And I got the doll in a separate purchase. But he already had, his hair was already cut. But I just thought they needed a brother. And then this one, actually the real reason I bought these two was because this one, as you can see, is slightly taller and older. And she has brown hair. See, I'm not even sure that she looks Native American because she does have brown hair and dark skin. But the problem with her is that her bangs were falling out of her head. And I don't know how sturdy the rest of her hair is, but I don't want to try to reroot it. And to put it in perspective, here they are next to this boy. So she's kind of in between this size and this size. And that's really the real reason I bought these dolls. And of course, there's this little bitty doll that's kind of smaller, but she's supposed to be black. I don't know why her legs are getting gummy, like the plastic is deteriorating, but not everywhere else in her body. But she came from the dollar store, and I'm not just going to throw her away because I still see value in her. So I'll probably end up putting those dolls away later. And, this one right here, they just didn't have enough boys, or I guess you could call one of the girls a boy, since I guess the guys have long hair. But I'd just rather have one that actually looks like a boy. And, so you have a boy and a girl. But what I want to talk about in this video, I'm not sure how to title it, but I want to talk about something that kind of sort of rubbed me the wrong way. Every year, well, pretty much, I'm not going to name names, okay? But for pretty much every year that I was in school, certainly beginning in 7th grade and probably again in 8th grade and 9th grade, and every time we would have a history class where we would study about Native Americans, they would always talk about how, which, to an extent, I take this with a grain of salt, that one of the leading causes of death, why there are not Native American people everywhere in the U.S. today, which is yet another lie, why there are so few Native Americans as we normally think of them in the U.S., that one of the main reasons was smallpox. That, there were just all these, millions or billions of Native Americans, and that the reason we can no longer say that it's Columbus Day, which is already passed a week ago, or 1 week past that day, and really, I don't care so much what you call it, but I like to remember holidays so that I can more easily memorize dates, just like Friday the 13th. It's more important in my mind to help me memorize dates and weekdays in proximity to it. It's not so much that I like the movies and Jason and all that crap. It's more about the Friday the 13th are like birthstones in my head. I see in my mind, a colorful pattern of birthstones on a conveyor belt for each year. And, the weekday of Christmas, separating it like. And so I'm able to mentally calculate, when the dates occurred, when I think about it long enough, just based on mental math. And that's what I found to be impressive. It's not the fact that I happen to know these things, it's the fact that I know the math leading up to these things without looking at a calendar. That's what's impressive. So, Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, it doesn't really matter what you call it. I like to acknowledge the second Monday in October, just to kind of know, how the calendar appeared in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Just like Thanksgiving and, all those other days, Pearl Harbor Day, just knowing, the date pattern in my head is important. So basically, one of the things that they taught us in school that kind of really infuriated me, don't want to say the PISS word, that did that to me off, blanked me off, teed me off, I guess would be a nicer way to put it. These people, I don't know, somebody in the educational system must really want to promote the flu shot mentality, so to speak. There must be someone really high up in education that just wanted to promote the idea that it is better to expose yourself to something now. Expose yourself today and get it over with, because you're eventually going to catch it down the road and it's going to be worse. Well, I think the opposite is true. I think that unless you're talking about really old people, the difference between, say, catching it at 30 versus catching it at 80, I think if you're talking about childhood, I think it's worse to get it the younger you are, because your body is not fully developed. Your everything about you, your brain, your body. So this flu shot mentality that it's better to get sick, go ahead and get sick, go ahead and get the vaccines, go ahead and expose yourself to as many pathogens as you can so that you can be more productive later on. You can be a better cog in the machine called the economy. If you hurry up and get the sickness over with as a baby, and then just gradually become immune at a younger age, so that when you're an adult, you can go to work every single day, never miss a day, and be more of like a machine, like a robot, instead of a human being that gets sick and needs time off. This whole mentality, they would teach us that, like, the Native Americans pretty much all died of smallpox, which is, of course, a fat lie. They didn't all die of smallpox. They really, if they want to be honest, the Europeans also had a high mortality rate and a low average age. They had a high infant mortality rate, and they died a lot younger than they do today. It was like women would have 6 kids and maybe 2 or 3 would survive. All across the world, okay, until fairly recently. And the Native Americans, I mean, yes, they may have died, a lot of them, of smallpox. It may have taken a high toll, on entire tribes and all that. But I do not believe, they try to say that it's because, like, they didn't have previous immunity. Okay, well, neither did the Europeans, okay? So, you see, this is the thing. I mean, immunity is not something that gets passed down, okay? And I have a chickenpox scar on my eyebrow as a result of that. If my mother's immunity to chickenpox could have been passed down, I would not have to live with a freaking chickenpox scar that I got when I was 16 from a little sister who was 7. Okay, so that's another reason why I don't believe that getting something at a later age is worse. Because I was no more sick as a 16-year-old than my 7-year-old sister. I may have had worse scarring from the chickenpox at 16, almost 17, but She was 7.5, and she was every bit as sick, if not more so. I don't ever remember vomiting the whole time, and I may have had a fever, but it wasn't really, yeah, it didn't take that much of a toll on my body other than the scarring. That was the biggest issue that I had with it. We were about equally sick, I would say, with the chicken pox. And so this nonsense about like, the Native Americans were just wiped out. I mean, yes, that is true. I mean, they may have not had like the technology or whatnot to deal with it as well as the Europeans, but saying that you would inherit immunity. No, you don't inherit immunity. If that were the case, children would not catch so many more colds than their parents. And believe me, I remember those days. Children would not have to be vaccinated, and like they wouldn't have these childhood diseases like if you inherited immunity, from previous generations. No, you don't. That is a lie. Babies are pretty much a blank slate, which is why it's so horrible to put them in daycare. So, yeah, I mean, what I really believe, what I really and truly believe, I mean, yes, there were a lot of Native Americans that may have died of things like smallpox, but I mean, you would not have had all these wars, that they fought like so many wars, like over the past, say, 200 to 300 years. They would not have needed to have just so many of them. And the other thing I believe, yeah, I wouldn't say like killed off the Native Americans, but I believe that and it's really just a myth that we don't have Native American people today. It really is, because pretty much any white person or even black person probably that you talk to, like myself, I mean, like I have Native American ancestry on both sides of my family, both my dad and my mom, and that's only that they know of. So do I look Native American? Probably not. But the truth is that I believe that they were mostly bred out of existence. Like, I mean, they were just, gradually, they didn't have as many, 100% Native American offspring as, what is considered 100% white. They sort of like assimilated into the white culture and the white race is what I really believe happened. And in given enough time, I believe that, it will probably happen with other cultures. I mean, just look at Italians. I mean, you don't hardly see a huge difference today. I don't see a huge difference between people who say they're Italian and people who are not. But what happens is people just gradually assimilate, and that's what really happened for the most part. I believe that they just kind of were effed out of existence. Enough white men just married or impregnated, Native American women, and a lot of them maybe didn't reproduce for various reasons, and they killed off the men in these wars. That's generally what happens, is the men are killed, and the women are impregnated somehow, and so if they have children, a lot of times it'll be like the enemy is children, and that's what I really believe. I mean, because the smallpox theory, like, I mean, it just wouldn't explain why pretty much anyone pretty much every white person says they have Native American ancestry, myself included. And sometimes I just feel like I have too much. It'd be so much nicer to have pretty blue eyes. But even blue-eyed people have Native American ancestry. So I don't really know. I guess it's definitely true, like I guess a lot of people died of smallpox probably, and they didn't have a way to treat it, because they didn't have experience with it or knowledge of it, like the Europeans. But you don't inherit immunity is what I'm trying to say. You do not inherit your mother's immunity to specific viruses, and that's what I'm always harping on, is that that's one of the many reasons I don't want any kids, because babies are pretty much a blank slate. when they're born, no matter what race they are. I mean, you expose them to any virus in the world and they're probably going to catch it. Then as they get older, as I've talked about before, couldn't be more clear to me since I remember dates so well. They just gradually build more immunities by catching things. And it doesn't matter what foods you're eating or what vitamins you're taking. Well, no. I mean, if you don't have experience with a virus, you're probably going to get sick. And these people that, they claim that their diet is why they're hardly ever sick. Well, no, it's probably not. It's probably something to do with them having been sick a lot when they were younger and not having the level of exposure that they used to have. You know what I'm saying? You get sick more when you're experiencing a higher level of exposure than you've ever had. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it is like in my sister's case, kindergarten, that was her worst year ever. And it was also my worst year ever. We each probably had as many colds or more in kindergarten as we'd had our whole first 5 or 6 years of life leading up to it. So it's never quite as bad as that first year when you're getting exposed to more people and more germs and more things than you've ever had. But then as you get older and you're being exposed to less germs, less people, less things, with all this immunity built up in your past, like in my case, I probably have some exposure to at least half of all cold viruses at this point. And that combined with the fact that I hardly ever am in close contact with sick people. I don't have kids. I don't even have a job, which is my daddy keeps pushing the job issue. I'm thinking about going back with Mom. So, and I went to Burger King today, not as a worker, but a customer. So much nicer. But, when you're in a period of your life, when you're having less exposure than you've ever had in the past, then you get sick very seldomly. So, all this crap about eat this, take that, do this, do that to reduce getting sick, well, no, that isn't what does it. What does it is going through a period of less exposure than you've ever had before in relation to how much immunity you've built up. You know what I'm saying? It isn't rocket science. The pandemic should have taught us a thing or two. And, it's just, so, yeah, I just wanted to post this video and just say I'm really loving the cool weather. And I just want to talk about that yet again.